Hey guys, before we get into the episode, I do want to tell you that we do have merch that you can check out. It's at Aidan N Designs on Etsy. I'll put some stuff up on the screen right now. It's probably some of our best stuff. If you like it, go check it out.
All right, welcome back to our second guest episode for Kickback Conversations. We're here with Andy Jacobs, a role model, father figure for me. So yeah, welcome to our episode. I want to start with you kind of cut off my story, my Coach Gabriel story.
Go for it.
But I want to start. So again, I was kind of buried in the depth chart. Like I was sixth in the depth chart. I was linebacker. I was not seeing any playing time. I remember telling Tyler Tapp.
Mm-hmm. And then like background, but Coach Jacobs is one of the coaches at San Juan Hills, right?
Yeah, but not for like freshmen. He was like an overseer of freshmen. Like
I mean, if you want to look at the role, I'm the offensive line coach for varsity.
Okay.
But anytime freshmen needed help, I would go down and help. I was also the equipment manager / I basically did a lot of things. Yeah, I do everything.
He did all like the behind the scenes stuff, I would say. So I was telling Tyler Tappy, I'm like, bro, I'm gonna be like the best water bottle hander out this season. Like I'm just be giving people water bottles. I'm not gonna see the field at all.
Yeah.
Because it was looking like I was never gonna touch the field because we had 90 kids on that team. We're like 80.
So you're bragging about being water boy?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna play.
And
so
gotta go where you gotta go.
Passion. Yeah.
We get to, I would say, like before we start putting pads on, and I get a message from Huddle from Coach Gabriel saying, us as a position group moved you back to D line. And I'm looking at that. I'm like, really, bro? Like, I don't want to do that. I want to be linebacker. And what I found out later is he thought I was too slow to play linebacker, which I always took that as like a little.
I didn't know linebackers had to be fast.
Well,
aren't they
it's
just doing the
it's like
tackling
the side
right
to
off the
side
bat?
speed?
Now, linebackers, to give you an idea, linebackers are basically like if you look at a center fielder for baseball, they're running all over the place.
Oh, okay.
So they're moving. I mean, the safety is really the center fielder, but linebacker's right behind the D line where he's working everything. So he's going sideline to sideline. He's got to fill gaps, cover guys, do all sorts of different things. So he's got to be a pretty athletic guy.
Also got to be like the smartest one.
So D line's the ones are the guys in the front.
Yeah.
D line, O line are the ones that are just like within a 2-yard area beating each other up.
Yeah.
Yeah, dope.
So
Way to put it.
I got moved to D line, right? And a couple of weeks go by. I'm still like way down the depth chart, and we're starting pads soon. And I'm in like. Well, we had two groups. We had like a group A where it's like our good players, and like group B where like everyone else was. Like two different weight rooms. I was in the second weight room. I was in the not good one where you didn't want to be.
The substitutes.
Sure. Yeah, you say that. So we're doing D-line stuff. I think we just like started putting like helmets and just helmets maybe. Mm-hmm. And we're doing drills, and we're doing like the one where, you know, like when you're on your knees, you have to like push it up. Yeah. We're doing that one. And it's me and Waleed, right? Me and Waleed you know Waleed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, me and Waleed, I think I'm doing pretty good. So I go home after that practice, I get a message from Coach Gerb. Was like, oh, you and Waleed are moving up to like the better group. And I was like, let's go. Yeah. I was like, no way. So then I'm still like fourth string though. That's the thing. I'm still like behind on the depth chart, but I'm getting closer.
And it's like first string's the best, right?
Yeah, you want it. Okay. You want to be the ones that are like the rotation, like starter guys, which I think was like Supe, Cash. You know Supe, Benji.
Supe.
Yeah, Cash.
Well, he was first string. Dang.
Well, and then we had Dominic Uribe. We had Cash Hardy, Dane Grant. You know Dane Grant, baseball player. Yep. He was an absolute like menace.
He was a beast when he played DN.
Oh my gosh. Don't even get me started.
Oh no.
I have some big rivals in football. He was one of them.
We can get to that though.
So that's how I met Dom too. Dom's one of my closest buddies. But yeah, I'm still like fourth string. Yeah, I'm still fourth string. But then we get pads on. That's when everything changes for me. Is once we get those pads on, I was one of the most physical ones there, and that's how I guess showed. I don't know who I guess Coach Gabriel. That I was like, I'm ready to play, and I was most physical. And we were doing hang drills. I was the only one like actually like hitting people and stuff like that. Yep. And that's where I would say set myself apart from just like the people that were looked at to be good, because there's difference. Once you put on those pads on, you can't hide. You can't. There's so many guys. Like I'm not. There's a kid. I don't know if you know him, but I'm not gonna say his name. But he was good until we got the pads on. Then he was like running away from everything.
Like scared.
He was actually our president of our ASB. You know who that is?
I know who that is.
He was starting linebacker for us, and he was good. Like when we didn't have the pads on 7-on-7. Once you got those pads on, not the same person, not aggressive at all.
How does it work differently? So with no pads, you're obviously not hitting.
You can't hit. You can't hit them, but it's just all like going through the motions. But when we got the pads on, it was different. We separate like the boys from men, I would say, but the guys who actually wanted to hit, then the guys who were just there for like the Instagram pictures, like to be like, oh, I'm on the football team, but I don't play football.
Yeah. Yep.
And so we get to like before our first game, we do a scrimmage like freshmen against sophomores, right?
Scrimmage freshmen. Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you know why we do that?
Wait, I feel like I heard a story about it being like abusive as hell, where you set like varsity against some of the lower guys.
It's really not. Well, I mean, it depends on what you're looking at outside. It's you put the freshmen and what it is, because the varsity has a scrimmage every year. We have scrimmage against another school.
Yeah.
Or we have an inter-squad scrimmage, which is where our 1s and 2s go against each other and whatnot. Going down with freshmen, there's really nobody to go with. So what we do is we have the sophomores who are just 1 year, basically one off season, removed from playing freshman football, go against them. So it's only sophomores versus they're true sophomores versus freshmen.
Okay.
Try to make it as equal as possible.
Yeah.
It's really hard to where you can say, okay, we're going to go freshman against freshman.
Yeah.
Sometimes the 2s are a drop-off, as they say, from what are the guys they consider starters. Well, then once you go to 3s, well, if those 2s are drop-offs, the 3s are even farther.
Yeah.
So then it's really not a competition. So they try to make it so where it's the 1s and 2s of freshmen are going against your sophomore best, as they say.
Okay.
Which nobody can be above a sophomore when they're playing against freshmen. So it just makes it a little bit of competitive equity, as they say.
I mean, it's good to go against better players to see what like potential there is.
Well, yeah, it's great to do it that way, but it's at times, as you're a freshman, you're looking out and you're going,
scared.
wait a minute, that dude is, that's not fair. But then in the last couple of years, our freshman group has actually put it on the sophomores. So it's been a good competition. So it's actually been a lot of fun. As coaches, we're like, all right, I'm keeping an eye on that kid.
Yeah.
Because if he's doing that right now against a guy we've coached for a while, what's this new kid going to do?
The potential,
Yeah, you see that potential right away. Rather than waiting until we get an actual game, you see it. Oh, hey, we're going to bring that freshman up with us right now. He might just go from freshman to JV, or he might go freshman to be a varsity player.
Yeah.
And have a chance of playing.
Yeah.
So it's a good game, but I mean, I'm sure his story will keep going with your story, Evan. I don't want to.
Even like our freshman team, I think is one of the best freshman teams our school's ever had.
You're specific.
Yes. I'm like, even like everyone that started on that team stayed all 4 years. I'd say most of the people. And
really?
We were one of the best freshman teams. Still, the sophomores were just stronger than us, and I was getting manhandled on the D line. It wasn't. I got a tackle. That's all I care about. But I was looking at the film. It was like just getting pushed back. They're just so much like more like stronger. They have also an off season of lifting,
right?
So that's where the advantage is. Even if we are like as talented or more talented, they're just bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was that game. I actually played in that game 3 times, which you're not supposed to do. I played in it junior year because
the aggression was keeping you going.
No, because we just didn't have enough people.
We didn't have enough people.
So I had to play, which I was like, oh, this is such a slap in the face.
You had to play, or you like volunteered?
No, I had no choice. There's no volunteering. I had no choice.
You just had to get beat up 3 times.
No. I was the one beating up them.
It was flipped.
I was beating up freshman as a junior.
Yeah, he went in. Again, remember what I said about the sophomores only?
Yeah.
We got to a point where we didn't have enough sophomore offensive linemen. So at that point, the assistant coach at the time looks and said, Evan, get in there. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Is Evan supposed to be in there? He's a junior. I'm like, well, it's a competition. Let's just go. Fair. So we put him in there. So Evan got 3 years of going through that game. So,
hey, they got more fun each time, though. I'll say that.
Really?
They got more fun each time. So I'm playing D-line most of the season. Also, it was a 5 or 6 game season? 5 games?
Yeah, it was only 5 games.
It was only 5 games because it was a shortened season because of COVID. So they're normally 10 games if you go in playoffs more.
Right.
So I'm playing D-line. I'm starting. I actually was like a starter on D-line for the first, I think like maybe till the San Clemente game or some sort. And then on O-line, I'd switch in like, Carter Vanderbrook?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
I would switch in with him like end of the game, sometimes at tackle. I didn't really want to play tackle. I'm like, okay, I'm playing whatever. And it gets to a point at, I think like the fourth or fifth game, Coach Briggs is like, Evan, I want you to start and tackle this week. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, going for Vanderberg. I'm like, all right, bet. Yeah. So I just play offensive line. It was, looking back, I have videos of me from freshman year playing offensive line. I was like just stepping here, just like didn't really know what I was doing. And in the off season, we're lifting. It was only, we only lifted for like what 2 months until we had summer practice.
Basically, with the COVID, because of it, we played the games in April. We started April.
Yeah.
So we got 5 weeks. So you go to the first week of May was the last game because of COVID. And then after that, we basically had 3 weeks. We took a week off.
Yeah.
And we came back, lifted for 2 weeks. Then they got schools out in June.
Mm-hmm.
And then we came back mid-June for summer camp. So they came back for another 4 weeks of summer camp. Then we took another week off for like our fall break before we go to fall camp, which starts in August.
Yeah.
So these kids we basically worked them the whole way through up till April with no pads.
Yeah.
Put pads on them, took the pads away from them for about, I think it was 3 months, and then we put them back into it, get ready for a 10-month or 10-week season. So it was like you had no like true lifting period. You didn't have the true off season of lifting to get ready for what would be like Evan's sophomore year.
Huh.
So it was COVID kind of messed up a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, COVID was such a bizarre time.
Yeah. We're still feeling the effects of it.
Definitely. So. I mean, I heard a lot of like stories of kids with the summer
football.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know everybody, like at least close friends, hated just because they had to wake up early in the morning.
Yep.
You be there super late.
Yep.
And then it's just football's your entire life at a certain point.
Oh yeah, it's to a point. If you're dedicated to it, it is your life.
Exactly.
And at one point, I remember when I played in high school, it wasn't considered year round. Now it seems like it's becoming year round.
Does it feel like football has like changed from like the time when you played versus now?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of things that have changed. The speed of the game's picked up. The safety with our equipment has gotten better. I mean, from when I played, that's the big thing with head injuries and things like that. But I mean, football's football. I mean, a lot of the stuff we do is exactly the same stuff they did back in the '60s. You know, back when Lambeau was the first one that created some of the schemes we do on offense. Yeah, it's the exact same thing. Go out there and it's just bigger, faster, and stronger kids that we're dealing with now.
Yeah. My God. I mean, it's good, the safety equipment.
Yeah,
I mean,
the safety side of it.
Yeah, the amount of CTE sometimes for some players in football. And then, like, that's why I don't really understand rugby. You know what I mean? How it's like a sport where it's football without any of the equipment in my mind. I know there's like, my friends have told me that in rugby, they have some procedures where if you fall on a person, there's a way you have to fall so you don't hurt the player. But it's still like no equipment, no helmet, nothing protecting you. It's just straight going for it.
Well, rugby, I mean, if you play rugby's a great game, especially if you want to lead into playing football, because some of the better football players have played rugby to begin with. Mm-hmm. And it teaches you a way to tackle to where you're taking your head out of it because of the fact you don't have all the equipment. Yeah. Rugby is an awesome sport to play because you can play it, you learn all the intricacies of playing football without having to worry about the equipment. So then as soon as you put the equipment on, your aggression level goes up even higher. Because you're no longer kind of held back to, just like you said, a way of tackling. You have to roll off a man. Yeah. Well, in football, you drive through the man because you have the equipment. Where you're learning all those basic things through rugby because you're doing it basically like we do spring practice, no pads. Everything's working through it, no pads, up to the point of contact, stop. Yeah. Rugby, you're actually going through contact, but you're learning how to do it without having the pads. So it helps you become a better football player. In the long run. Think about it that way. Yeah. I mean, it's a way of looking at it.
Yeah. So. And so, this relationship, 5 years between you and Evan, roughly, right? Mm-hmm. You feel like has it been like a pretty like father and son type of relationship? You feel like, or how did it initially start off? Was Evan kind of like that kid who's kind of like shy, or did he come up to you? Did you guys open up pretty quick?
It's the first time I remember seeing him was at like I think it was either San Clemente game or the Tesoro game. Oh, I think it was the Tesoro game where Ethan Jarvis threw a pick six and that like we lost to Tesoro. Ugh. Yeah, I don't like Tesoro.
We don't like him.
But yeah, I remember seeing on the signs. He's talking to Trevor. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be like your next 3 years. I'm gonna put you through it. I'm gonna make you like a way better football player." I'm like, look at him, like, oh, you kind of look a little scary and intimidating. And going back, thinking about it, because I was a D lineman, and on like one of the first days of summer camp, I'm like, I played D line, O line. Where am I supposed to go? And I was like, I want to play D line, but I'm like, do I go O line? So I go to O line, and then I'm stuck at O line. Once you're what? No, it's not no
Don't
discipline.
say stuck.
Once like a funny thing was like an offensive line. Like once you're an offensive lineman, you're an offensive lineman. Like there's no going back, and that's like it's like the brotherhood we build at the offensive line. We're supposed to we're supposed to be the closest ones in the group because it's all 5 of us right here, and we have to have the best communication on the field. We got to have each other's back. That's probably why O-line's the best position group for me, I would say.
Yeah.
And again, going from freshman year into the sophomore summer camp, you're like a little like scared at first because like all these guys are bigger than you. You haven't really had that much training. But a good confidence booster for me was that since I think was it Justin Collins that got injured? Remember when he?
Yeah.
So we were doing a drill where like you had like get the bag and like push like a.
It's just a drive drill with a hand drill and get to the second level.
And he's like
just but it's funny. I don't know who was he holding the bag or was he?
No, he was running out. Was you talking about when he blew out his
yes.
elbow? No, he was stepping down to work to the linebacker, and don't hate me for this, Justin. Sorry. But he stepped, and he claims that his knee braces locked, and he fell. But I think it was just his lack of athleticism, as I put it. I still give him a hard time to this day. That's why I say, sorry, Justin. But he fell, and he put his arm down, and he hyperextended his elbow to where he was done. And at that point, we were down a tackle. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I looked at him and said, well, hey, Evan, you're going to do it. So you're in there. Let's go.
So, yeah, with that was an opportunity for me. So, Trevor actually got to start like right away at varsity.
Well, when you're 6'7".
Yeah, I mean, that kid's massive.
But against Santa Margarita, which was, I think they had like one of the best D ends in the country.
One of the top in the county, yeah.
So, but with that, I was able to start right away on JV, which I think that's pretty cool. And I actually started over a Don who was really big. He was like 6'3".
I
like,
know him.
Yeah, he's huge. So it gave me a little confidence boost in the beginning to like actually see the field and like keep playing. Mm-hmm. But it was middle of sophomore season where like where Justin came back and Trevor went to JV. So that went from me like playing every game to me like barely playing. That was like that's the only time at San Juan Hills where I wasn't playing at all. And I would just also sit on the sidelines on varsity. I was lucky enough that because sophomores aren't usually on varsity.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough that after the first game, they're like, Evan, do you want to sit up for varsity? I'm like, oh, bet. I get free food every Friday.
Oh, that's what you're looking forward to. Makes sense, though.
I get to eat as much as I want. I don't have to, like, go in at all.
Yeah.
So that was cool, but it was, like, a little bit, like, a burning passion was, like, inside me because, like, I want to play. I don't want to just sit here. So that offseason from sophomore year to junior season was probably my best work, I would say. That was the most, like, I would say aggressive I was the most like I wanted this. I wanted to play. That was the best like skill wise I was doing training outside of football. I wanted to play. Yeah. So it gets to a point where it's junior season, right? And it's the tackles are McCook quit, right? Before
McCook left before we got there.
It was Adon, Trevor, and me, right? As the 3 tackles.
Okay.
And I knew I was better than Adon, but going to that offseason, Adon got like the 1,000 shirt club, which is like our strongest. Like, I know. He's a strong.
That offseason, like, Don
and he also got better too.
Yeah. For those who don't know, can you explain what the 1,000-pound club is, basically?
1,000-pound club, basically what it is we have maxes throughout, the offseason for lifting. Mm-hmm. And the 1,000-pound club is a combination of your squat, your clean, and your bench press. So once you tally all those 3 lifts, if you're over 1,000 pounds, you get a T-shirt that says 1,000-pound club, which is huge for anybody who's a sophomore, junior, moving on to seniors. Yeah. Like right now, we have a couple of sophomores that are 1,000-pound clubbers. We got guys that are 800-pound clubbers. Yeah, we got some really strong kids.
It's so crazy.
Now?
Well, one of our players right now, Cooper Jaworski, he's a second year, 1,000-pound club.
Brother, of course.
Yeah, the younger brother of. And Jake Jaworski, which you guys knew, I believe was with your guys' class. Yeah. He was 1,000-pound club from basically the end of his sophomore year on.
I mean, that kid went above 1,000-pound club, no?
Yeah, like he actually got a shirt made for him that said the 1,200-pound club because he was just a monster. He was a monster. We had a few kids that actually got above the 1,000-pound club. Yeah. That were, that dedicate themselves in the weight room. And that's the whole key is it's a reward for showing what you're doing in that weight room in the off season. Yeah. Because that transpires onto the field. Yeah. What you do in that weight room does on the field. Yeah. So.
And Coach Frith definitely looks for like people who he thinks are like if you did good in the weight room, he's gonna reward you on the field. If there's like a player that like you didn't get this shirt, but he did, he's gonna put the player that got the shirt on most of the time, I would say. So Adon ended up starting. So I was on JV again, but I was starting. So I was like happy. I got to like prove myself. And it was first week Santa Margarita. I could only play the first two or three quarters because I don't know, was someone injured or something?
Well, there's a possibility that Trevor had a high ankle sprain going into the game because he got it during camp. And I was like, I don't want to burn Evan out playing all 4 quarters at JV.
Yeah.
And then if we need him for varsity, we're going to be without a tackle, because he's going to be burned out. I'm thinking of a kid that's 16, 17 years old. Dude, you just played 8 quarters of football, you're dying. But really, there's a lot of kids that do it now. There's a ton of them that actually do it. But we as coaches decided, hey, we're going to hold him back, let him play the first half, and have him ready for varsity. That way we're not completely screwed on Friday night, kind of thing, just in case. But then and go from there.
So, and then it's like, I think third quarter or so, I'm just chilling on the sidelines. I'm like waiting. So, and then I see Aidan go down. Aidan's just holding his knees like, he's like, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm about to go in. Trevor's like, oh, you ready, man? I'm like, yeah. I'm in the huddle. And then I just see out of nowhere, Aidan just gets up and just starts running over. I'm like, bro, you got to be kidding me. Like, there's no way he's got back up like that. And then Aidan just finished the whole game out.
Really? With the injury and everything?
I don't know how injured he was, but yeah, he did.
I don't know if he was really injured. I think it was the fact that Don was starting his first game against Santa Margarita, and it was kind of the butterflies, and he got hit, and it kind of scared him.
Maybe need a little rest too.
So there's the rest, and I think it was just the intensity of what was going on. It was like the limelights are on, and he got hit, and he kind of freaked out because it was the first time he'd been hit like that. So it freaked him out, and we're like, as coaches, we were ready. All right, next guy's going in. Let's make sure he's okay. Evan was, he was fired up to go, like no issues. And all of a sudden, Aidan got up and he got over it, and he's like, I'm fine. And I'm like, oh, Evan, come on back over here. Aidan, go.
Yeah, I'm learning Evan has a lot of fire in him in the early years.
Well, so, and then basically that whole point, I'm just like a backup, just ready for my opportunity. I'm kind of destroying on JV. Like, it was to a point where like I'm like, I guess, too good for JV, but for varsity I'm just like, I'm like on the cusp of there. So I played that whole season on JV. I'm having fun. That was probably the most like fun football I'd say, because like the games, like, they mattered, but like to me it was like just like, oh, it's just a Thursday afternoon after class. I'm just like doing this for fun. I even like returned a kick twice. I returned a kick like, I think it was 40 yards.
They put him in, which wasn't exactly my highlight of being a coach, looking at my future offensive lineman returning a kickoff. They put him as an up back position, and the next thing I see on film is he's returning it at 40 yards. I'm like, all right, kid can move. We're good.
Damn.
It's all good.
I was athletic guy, so that comes out my junior season. But unfortunately, that junior season, I was kind of the whole time I was just like angry because I was like, I should be playing, you know. Whole time I wanted to play. Coach Frith would always like, oh yeah, next year I want you to be 260. You're gonna play. I'm like, yeah, coach. I was kind of losing my drive a little bit, and it gets to the like off season after winter break. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to like do other things in life. So I tell Coach Frith, I'm like, Coach, sorry, I just don't want to play football anymore. I don't want to do this. And so I told him I quit. So which is like surprising to hear, because my whole life I just wanted to play football. So I quit football. It was only for like 6 months, and then I came back. And I feel like Coach Frith, and hopefully you were happy.
Oh, I was.
That I came back, because we also need like more offensive linemen. That's always a thing.
Didn't you leave because of the weight requirement?
No, that was one, because like I was like, there's no one being 260 pounds.
Yeah, some of the weight requirements are.
It's really not a requirement though.
But it just helps.
It's a suggestion, because if you're able to carry a little bit more weight, and we're not saying just go get fat. It's a matter of go and get in the weight room, get stronger, because you feel more confident when you're trying to push another man across the line. If he's say he's 250, 240. But he's been in the weight room and he squats a small Toyota truck. You know, if you're going in at a $185 and you're trying to push him, you're already behind the 8 ball. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was just a suggestion of saying, hey, you know, you're going to feel more confident. You're going to feel better about yourself if you can push yourself in the weight room, get up to this weight. Yeah. It's never, hey, man, you need to go to all-you-can-eat buffet, and I want you to be 345 pounds and just be a blob. That's never what we're looking for. We're looking for what you're going to build your foundation in the weight room.
Yeah.
And it's just an ideal weight of where you can carry yourself and feel confident.
Yeah.
And when Evan said, hey, I'm not going to get up to 260, I'm like, all right, we'll work with what we got. And then he made the decision that he made, and it was like, all right, I was bummed. I was definitely bummed because I was already looking at next year. I'm like, oh, senior year, I've got Trevor, I've got Cash, I'm going to have Evan.
Oh, the three
We're going to have 3 amigos up there in the front line. I'm like, I'm stoked.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to have to worry about 2 positions between everything.
Yeah.
Hey, man, it's gravy train for me. I'm thinking, let's go. And then next I hear one of the Trevor reached out to me and says, hey, Evan decided to quit. I'm like, what? Nobody told me. And I'm like shocked. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to like bash him for it. It's his choice. You know, you can't force somebody to play that doesn't want to play. And then when he came back, I was stoked.
So
it was a good thing.
In the summer, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna join back. I tell coaches and everything, and then when I come back, everyone's like, no way, Evan's back. I was like, yeah. But I didn't. It was first day. It was kind of rough at first. You're a little rusty because like I haven't done any of the offensive line stuff. But I go against Dom. Like the first day in 1-on-1s, I think I do pretty good.
And Dom's not a big kid from what I remember.
No,
right?
but he's elusive. He's quick. He has a good get off.
Uribe was not your prototypical size guy that you'd want to say, oh, he's a D lineman when you look at him. But he had the heart of a bull. I mean, he didn't care who you were going against. He's going to beat you up, and that was one thing about him. And he was also he loved the weight room, so he's strong in that area.
Yeah, I mean, I can vouch for his aggression. I used to go to middle school with him.
Right.
I don't know if I told you that, Evan, but. Yeah. The kid had some aggression with him for sure.
He's got a chip. He's got a chip on his shoulder, and he likes to let it out every so often, which really transpired well for him on the D line because he's able to let that aggression go.
I mean, as long as he figured it out,
Yeah, he figured it out, and like the one they're talking about, they went 1-on-1. Everybody's like, all right, we're going to put Evan in there. You know, let's put one of our best on D line against a guy we want to see playing on Fridays. Let's see if he's got it still. You know, kind of thing. And then Evan's like, all right, I'm not going to back down. They went out there, they battled in the 1-on-1s. It was awesome. And Evan afterwards, he goes, I got a lot of work to do. And I'm like, well, you're rusty. I've been here for 6 months, so you're good. Fair. 2 weeks later, we'd had the same 1-on-1, and he dominated. He did great.
Hell yeah,
so, man. I mean, it was the growth of where he wanted to be. And that's the whole key thing. So.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who played sports, I know football players were like, it's something different knowing how to tackle. I can say that for sure. Because like, I feel like a decent amount of football kids would come to lacrosse. And we do 1-on-1 drills where we're just pushing each other because it's important that in lacrosse, even though we're using our sticks to push people, that we just learn the gist of how it's like push someone over. Whenever I went against a football kid, it was a different level. It would be a kid who's tiny, like my size, and then all of a sudden he's pushing like he's way heavier than me.
Right. It's the whole idea of just having it goes back to that whole physics thing where your leverage point, your leg drive, and getting in that. And that's, again, goes back to the weight room. And I'm not sure how much the lacrosse team, they did do a lot of the weight room, but I don't know if they're doing the same kind of lifts.
No.
I think you barely didn't you, before you graduated?
So we do weight room like a little bit, but the problem is with a lot of lacrosse players is a lot of lacrosse players are skinny. So you get it most of the time. When I was playing, at least, kids were barely benching empty bar, and it's like, okay.
Well, lacrosse, though, how long's a game? I mean, it's not split up like football's got 4 quarters. Lacrosse is 4 quarters. It's 4 quarters, but you're running the entire time. It's not like you're
nonstop,
It's not like, and I'm not trying to bash on either sport or say anything's different. It's all sport. Football, everything's within like for linemen, it's a 5-yard area. That's our whole work. Receivers, you're running down the field doing all that kind of thing. Lacrosse, it's just you're running from sideline to sideline, goal to goal, everywhere, unless you're a midfielder or high stick. I see all these different things. I have no idea what it is, but I'm just throwing it out there. The only guy that's got a sweet job is the goalie. He doesn't going to run anywhere.
But it's so scary because like lacrosse ball is it's rubber, but it's solid. It's like a solid ball. When you throw that thing, I mean, I've seen plenty of kids. The thing too is like in sports, it's just uncomfortable to wear a cup. So I think a lot of kids, I don't know if other sports as well, but at least lacrosse, kids hated wearing cups. And I remember one kid, it was so funny. He was the one kid only like
was it
wear a
Craig?
cup.
I'm pretty sure it was Craig.
No, it was Dylan something. His nickname was Squirrel though, because he was a tiny kid. He was a tiny kid. But he was the only one kid out of our entire team to wear a cup. And then our team just shamed him into not wearing it. The one game he decided to not wear a cup, the crossball gets launched, hits him straight in the nuts, and he's down. It was unbelievable.
That's the one thing about lacrosse ball. I don't need to take that. That's good.
I mean, we had a practice one time because I played lacrosse in like middle school is when I got into it. I hated it at first because I couldn't figure it out. Right. Once I did, I played like in a camp. It was called Victory Lacrosse. Played there. Our coach wanted to abuse us for some reason. I don't know why. I think he wanted to raise our toughness, but there was at the end of practice, he was like, guys, we're going to play a thing. So we're in like a hockey type of box, but with turf on the ground. And he's like, you run from each side of the box. I'm going to pelt you with a tennis ball as hard as you can. And then we'd be running as fast as we can. And it was just all of us running, and he would launch it.
So you got lucky. All you had to go do was push the sled.
Oh my god. I have so many sled stories, but so I got kind of injured. Like I don't know, it was like part of my leg got injured. It was like one-on-ones against El Toro and Irvine, something like that.
Yeah.
So it was just trying to get like my strength back up. And then first week,
that's right.
The whole week for the first game, I'm like dreaming. I'm like, oh, this is the time I've been waiting for. First varsity start. Can't wait.
Yeah.
So I'm all excited. I got my drip on. I got my everything ready. And I'm first drive. I do good. Then I got a pancake.
You got a pancake?
I flexed on. I'm like,
yeah. Yeah, you had some good stuff.
That's so bad. It's so embarrassing being the one hit, too.
And he on the ground. I'm like, yeah. And then, so, I think it's like end of the first quarter. And was Timmy recording? Yeah, Timmy was recording. He throws it, picks off. I'm like, oh, sure, I go get him. I'm going. I get pushed him back. I roll my ankle super bad. I'm like, I can't get up. And the offensive linemen don't get their names like announced, right?
No, we don't.
Oh, really?
So there's an injury. They're like, oh, injury somewhere. I'm like, okay, at least my name's gonna be announced. It says injury number 70, Cooper Jaworski. I'm like, bro, you can't even get my name right the one time it'll get announced. Are you serious?
Wrong number.
So I couldn't.
Mean, were your numbers close at all?
Yeah, he was 71, but still, I'm like, come on, just say my name, even if I'm injured. So I walk off the field. I'm like, okay, let's see if I can go. But I don't play the rest of the game, which whatever. He still won. But I finished the season out. My biggest learning mistakes was just like trying to, I guess, form that brothership, especially with me, Cash, and Trevor. Because I remember we had 2 sophomores start, Cooper Jaworski and Tyler Fields. And I wish I told him this, but one thing that I got from them starting was that, guys, most sophomores don't get an opportunity to start. And if you get an opportunity to start, you got to take it and run with it. Like Trevor got the opportunity, he took it and ran with it. Cash got opportunity junior year. I thought junior year was going to be me and Cash on JV. But then did someone get injured?
It was McDougal went down.
Oh, yeah, and Enzo went down too.
Well, Enzo went down during summer, and then McDougal went down in the scrimmage. He had a high ankle sprain, and it was like we're getting ready for Santa Margarita, and I'm looking around going,
okay,
I don't have a center or guard. What am I going to do? And then next thing I know, Cash came in at center. That was his first start, was going against Santa Margarita. Against Tyler Parker, yeah.
Who's what? I don't know if you know him, but he was all over social media as like the next Aaron Donald. He was like 14, but absolutely.
I know who you're talking about.
And we had to play against him. So Cash got the opportunity. Ran with it. I'm trying to tell him, like, guys, most people don't get this opportunity early on to start on varsity. So you gotta go with it. And I hope that's so funny. That's 2 years ago, and I think all 3 of them. Connor Gibson's playing too.
Yeah, Connor Gibson's started. He started last year at tackle for me, and then we have Cooper Jaworski's going in his second year starting, and then we have Tyler Fields' second year starting. And we just had another sophomore, Carter Topping, is another starter.
Yeah,
that started as a sophomore. It's varsity is always going to be whoever's going to be your best 5. Yeah. And at times, if you have a heavy group like we had when his junior season and even your sophomore season, we had a bunch of guys on the offensive line. Like we had Jake Hudson was our starting right tackle, and he had started since his sophomore year. We had Trevor came in from his sophomore year. He started for us. So we had a bunch of guys that were still young that we filled the group.
Yeah.
But as they became seniors, when you got all 5, there's only 5 positions on the offensive line. So when you have that 6th guy, like Evan came into that point, and it's like, all right, I got 5 guys. He's my 6th man. He's a swing. But I don't want him to spend the whole season sitting on the sideline just for varsity. So it's like, all right, you're going to play JV. Go do your thing, get better at what you're doing. And that way, when you do play, you're set to go. And I think that's what really set him up for his success that he had his senior year, even though he played through a high ankle sprain and he battled every week. It's like, every time I looked at him, hey, you good? Yeah, I'm good. No problem. And he's like hobbling. I'm like, are you sure? Yeah, I'm good. Don't take me out. I want to play.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, bro, it's your call. I'm not going to pull you unless you tell me. You know, and it was a good thing to see. I mean, but it's a whole maturity thing growing up. And like what Evan's getting to, what he's alluding to, guys should take that advantage when you're starting as a sophomore. Run with it. Don't be afraid. Don't hold back.
Yeah.
You still have 2 more years to get better.
Yeah.
So throw it all out there right now as a sophomore and see what's going to happen. You never know.
You got to learn the speed of the game too. It's so much different from freshman to JV. Another highlight was actually, so you know how we have captains, like the first 4 captains. So the whole year I'm wondering, like, oh, am I ever gonna be captain? I'm like, I don't think so, because I quit football. I don't think they want that as a captain. So we're playing it was Miracosta. We're playing Miracosta.
We're at
nicest
Miracosta.
locker room I've ever seen in my life. They're like 2 hours away. That was the longest
up in
drive.
Manhattan Beach, up towards it's up off the 405, way up there.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we're at Olive Garden, right? I'm next to Ashton. He's like, okay, we got our captains for this game. He's like, Weston, Jaworski, Colin Chase. Then he looks at me. I'm like, huh? And he says, Evan. I'm like, there's no way I'm the captain. That was literally my favorite moment, just being captain, being like the first four, like representing our team. Because when you're a captain, you're supposed to be. That's the embodiment of our team.
Right.
Is our like
the leaders.
Who does Coach Fred think is like our leader of the team? Who's they represent, like a true stallion, right? So that was another big moment for me. It was being captain. Also, what was nice is we got to play 14 games.
Yeah, we played 13. No, 13.
13.
We played up to the semifinals.
Oh, were you at the game where we lost?
I wasn't at many football games. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your support. No, I'm just kidding.
I supported definitely not freshman year. Sophomore year. Sophomore year, I fully supported. After that, it's just like.
That's understandable.
I've been to I've been to more football games now as a spectator than I have actually like at San Juan Hills, which I think is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because since I was on varsity, but I'll tell you the last play. It was kind of stupid. We're tie game against St. Francis.
No, not St. Bonaventure.
St. Bonaventure.
St. Bonnie.
And we're driving on them. I'm like, okay, this is looking good. There's like 3 minutes left. I'm like, okay, we gotta just run it out and get the field goal. So it's like third down where I'm like, okay, let's just make smart play. Coach, I forgot what his name was. Curtis calls, all right, tight end screener. What was the play called?
It was a tight end screen. I'm not going to give away the name of our play. No, I'm just kidding. It was called Lambo. Is what the play was.
Lambo and Ferrari? Was it Lambo?
Lambo and Ferrari.
So he says Lambo. I'm like, bro, there's no way calling tight end screen. I'm like, okay, whatever. So Timmy Hurst snaps it. Boom. Weston does what he does. He pushes off. The defender falls. So it looks like he's wide open, but he falls down. Timmy throws it. Defender picks it straight to the house. Just that was and
76-yard.
I'm looking backward. I'm like, bro, there's no way. And I'm just like shaking my head. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's the worst though, being the guy who like everyone puts the blame on.
The thing is, it wasn't really like in the moment. It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks big time. I mean, it's hard because these guys put so much effort into the whole thing, and I mean, to go as far as we did, and to go against a private school like St. Bonaventure,
so cool.
And we're like, we have them. You know, we're one play
away
right from going to the finals. You know, for another CIF championship. We haven't had one at San Juan since 2019, which was a great one too. But it just came down to one play. And we run that play so many times in practice. We ran that play perfectly a couple times in a game. Yeah. It wasn't one like we called every game.
Yeah.
It was a play that we had some success and we felt we can do it. And we were set up, just like Evan said, we were set up for the field goal, and the field goal would have won the game. And we're all, as coaches, we're like, all right, let's just do something safe. And then it was a timeout, and then that call went in, and we're like, all right, as long as everybody knows what they got to do, because if the crap hits the fan, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Well, the crap hit the fan, and the guy took it back. And it was just like the whole air of the stadium went right out of that place. So it was tough. It was tough to look at our seniors and go, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough for everybody, coaches, players, everything. I mean, you guys are all invested in the game, like heavy. Yeah.
It was back-to-back weeks like that, though, because the week before we went up to Citrus Valley, and we had to play them. We were down by like 28 points, right?
We were down. We were down at half. Bad. We were down at half by 2. It was they were up by 14. We came back and we battled back and forth. It was the last 2-minute drive is what we drove it down to win. So it was like all the excitement of the game was all packed into 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was a nail biter, and the emotions were so high after that game. Come back home, we're like, all right, we got St. Bonaventure at home. We're going to do this. Everything's great. And then it kind of went from there. So,
because when it gets to playoff time, you realize like, oh, any game, this could be my last game.
Well, especially for seniors.
Like entry-wise, or
no, like seniors, because
if
we lose, you're done.
Yeah.
Because it's something we tell you guys, and we've told them. We tell them still, as seniors, when you start in August, hey man, you got 10 weeks guaranteed.
Yeah,
that's your schedule. 10 weeks, you're guaranteed. But guess what? You can blink and those 10 weeks are over.
And it does
so
blink
value what's going on for those 10 weeks because playoffs aren't guaranteed. And if we have a good team, yeah, we can make a playoff run. But once you're in the playoffs, it's like, all right, you guys got yourself another week.
Yeah.
What we do on Friday is going to determine if you got another week. And so it's like you're playing for your livelihood. So it's like these guys are all looking around, all right, hey, man, we got through that one last week. We got St. Bonnie. This is our year. We're going to finish on a high note. And it was just, you never know when it's going to end.
Yeah.
And just the way it ended, it was kind of like, it sucked. I mean, to put it to a word, it was not good.
Yeah, I mean, you invest all your time into it, and it's like, but win's a win at the end.
Some people, I would say, like majority of people, especially like if you don't really play a lot, like you hate the practices, you hate like showing up every time, the 2 hours, especially the ones in like the sun that's blazing hot. But even then, like once it's over, you miss that. You miss like all the conversations you have with people, all the friends you made, because these are lifelong friends. I consider like Trevor and Cash to be my lifelong friends. I'm glad I met them. I'm glad I got to battle with them all 4 years realistically. And I still admit, like, again, you still miss the game because I'm never gonna play football again. Like I could have, like, obviously I could have played at D3 or D2 or at least tried to, but you just had to what's it called? I just had to do other things in my life. I'm happy that Cash is playing football though. Trevor's playing football in college, so I'm happy that I get to at least watch them live like their lifelong dream of playing football. Also, Jaworski, him playing too. So I'm just trying to be a supportive friend to them, and I'm happy that they're succeeding with their football. But that ended my football career.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny to see you transition from aggressive football player to a therapist now.
Yeah,
that's the aspiration.
now I'm a peaceful.
That is
guy.
The conversation we were walking in here when he told me the therapist. I was like, wow, that is a complete 180 from where I saw him. But no, it's good. I'm stoked for him. I'm stoked for him. It's good things. It's good things.
So. I have some questions for you. Actually, Aidan has a question about.
What?
Bring it.
So I'm just gonna tell Aidan, you in lacrosse you had to change in the locker room, right? You had.
Oh yeah.
All right. So remember what I told you. Remember what I told you in the car?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
he has a little hypothetical for you.
A hypothetical for me. Let me
yeah.
hear the hypothetical.
So like,
are we talking for my role of being in the locker room attendant?
In an imaginary world where like this definitely never happened, right?
Okay.
You're saying if a football player, right? Imaginary football player was in the locker room and he left his food in there, just left it in, put it down, and just left the locker room.
The locker room was
let
dirty.
It really brew in there.
Right.
And you walked in there, and what's your first reaction? Would you be like, it's whatever?
No, my first reaction is somebody's going to die.
Yeah, you grab the food, throw it at him if you can still see him.
If I see him, I'm going to either make him pick it up and eat it, or I'm going to make him run. Kind of like, I think, was that your group?
It was sophomore year, so it was after.
When I walked into the locker room and there's a half-eaten sandwich that's on the middle of the floor. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
It's a hypothetical. Yeah.
Hypothetical, yes. Yeah.
That was the most I think I've ever had to run.
I walked in because that was one of my duties, was keeping the locker room clean. I told him, hey, if you're going to have food, I'm fine with it. Just don't leave it on the floor. Well, there was a half. I don't know if I'd call it a half eaten. It was more like a 3/4, almost full bologna, cheese, mayo, and mustard sandwich.
Gross. Yeah.
That had been smashed into the floor of the locker room and kind of like slid. So it wasn't like an easy, wipe it up and you're done. It was kind of smeared across the floor. And I'm like, I walked in and the first thing I said was, really? After all I do.
And he warns us too. It's not like the first time. Every week's like, all right, clean that locker room, clean the locker room. The worst thing is when you do your job and then he's still dirty from all other people.
Yeah.
And he warns us every week and then he just.
Did it work like this? So if someone dirtied the locker room, would that specific person get punished, or everyone on the team just gets it?
Typically, it was just based on the team. Because we had the locker room that was shared by the JV and varsity. If something happened on a JV day, because I'd clean the locker room before JV day for Thursday.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew who was in there on Thursdays after the game. Fridays was the same thing for Friday for varsity. This particular incident that we're talking about, hypothetically, if it's the same one I'm talking about, was a JV day. I cleaned it. JV went out, did their thing. Yeah. JV came in, and I warned him after the game. I said, hey, just make sure the locker room's clean. Don't leave a mess, because I don't want to clean up after you guys. I know you guys just had a game. You battled, whatever. Don't leave stuff out.
Yeah.
And I'm using very PC words that I usually would say to them. And when I walked in, after they had all left and before I went home for the day, I walked in, and there it was. Just a sandwich magically was there. And I'm like, all right. So 65 guys came in after a game.
Yeah.
65 guys probably left and just left this here. I'm going to leave it till tomorrow morning, and I'll clean it up tomorrow morning. So I came in the next morning because I sent out a message through Huddle, said, hey, whoever left the sandwich, let's get it cleaned up before I get there tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Nobody responded. Nobody wanted to own up to it.
Yes.
So
Let's own up to that.
as soon as I went and cleaned it up, I sent out another message. I'll see you all before practice starts
Oh, shit.
on Monday. Well, see you guys Monday. I'm going to let it ferment over the weekend in my mind.
Yeah.
So Monday, I took them all out. I said, all JVs, put them on the goal line. I said, get ready. You're going to run. So we did, what was it, gassers for about 45 minutes.
Yeah. It's always his saying is like, oh, we're running until I'm tired.
Yeah. That's
Until I'm tired is crazy.
Running till I'm tired, and I'm not the one running, so I don't get tired.
Have fun, yeah.
So.
Oh, running is the worst.
That wasn't the worst punishment. The worst punishment is rolling.
Explain that to me.
Rolling is where you just roll. You're just rolling the whole time.
What do you mean? Like rolling? I'm assuming rolling on your side.
We have a discipline thing where it's called, what is it? The Big Fours. The Big Fours, and what Big Fours are is it's basically you do 50 yards or 100 yards of lunges, 100 yards of bear crawl. Okay, so that's down in bear crawl. Yeah. And then you do 100 yards of slammers, which is every 5 yards you do a drop down, push up, stand back up. Okay. Jog 5, drop, hit, back up. And then you got 100 yards of roll. So rolls is mean you lay on your side and you basically barrel roll for 100 yards. That's not fun. Because after about 25 yards, your world's spinning and then your stomach's churning and everything else. So
if you don't get dizzy, it's people's favorite. But I get dizzy so fast. I've done it one time. I never did it again. And
that's the reason we try to get it so you don't want to do it again.
And it wasn't even my fault. It was like, I think, it was
it's probably a Don's fault.
People mess. Don rolled like almost 300 yards every practice for.
What would he do?
He was late.
A Don, being a Don.
He'd show up late. He'd show up without his equipment, the right equipment to start practice. He'd just show up and just kind of get
always rolling.
And this would affect the entire team.
No, this was just a Don.
It was just
thank God.
The whole team didn't have to do it. It came down to an individual punishment. Like if you were late to practice, you didn't come down. That person had to do a Big Four before practice started.
Yeah.
So you imagine doing those 4 things before you go through an hour and a half, 2 hours of practice of running around, hitting, and doing all that kind of stuff. It sucks.
Yeah.
After a bit, you're hurting. And Don was known to have to do it a couple times.
I mean, running is the worst punishment. I don't get how people in track do what they do.
I don't understand how anybody wants to go out for track or cross country.
Track is a punishment. It's a punishment sport.
You have to love running. I don't know.
Not me.
I know our coaches punish us with running too, obviously. They would have us. The worst thing with them is they would make it a race. So they'd say people in the front. So they'll set a certain amount of laps, or they won't tell you because the mystery of it makes it worse.
Yep.
So they'd have you run, but the thing we know is that for the people who are in front of everybody the fastest, you can end sooner. So it became a competition. All of a sudden, all of us are sprinting as fast as we can. So you think about it back and forth already. We're just worn out. It was the worst feeling. You have kids throwing up after practice and everything. It's like.
It's the worst. It's the worst. I think the worst we ever did for like discipline was, what was that? The snake, where you guys ran from sideline and you had to run between the hashes and then jog. Yeah. But if you're the guy in the back, you had to run continually till you got to the front. So it was like a snake continuously, somebody running behind it. So they'd start at the goal line and work their way all the way down to the opposite goal line, and until somebody, basically rotated. So whoever was in the starter would be at the end.
We also had a conditioning test that we did before senior year.
Oh, that was fun.
And that only 3 offensive linemen passed, and I was actually one of them. Was me, Cash, and Fields, I think.
Yeah. You had Fields.
And we were just running. What was it like?
Basically, it's called the 800-yard shuttle, and what it is they have to run out to 25-yard line and back, 25-yard line and back. Basically, and you're doing it 3 times, and then you get a 30-second break. Yeah. Then you got to run. Go do it again. So it's basically like a 4 cycle to get to your total yards. So it's 25 yards there and back. So it's 50 yards. Go back, and you have to do it under a certain amount of time. And if you didn't do it under an amount of time, you had to come back and do it tomorrow. So it was not fun.
It's miserable.
Not fun. Yeah.
You guys get some enjoyment out of it though.
It would just make sure.
If you want to find enjoyment out of other people's suffering, sure. No, I'm just kidding. But it's the kids are everybody's warned. All players are warned before that. It's during the time that we have between our summer practice and before we go to our, what we call fall camp. They got a week off, and we're like, hey guys, don't just sit around. Yeah. Because as soon as you come back, the conditioning test is there because everything we've been working up for the last 8 weeks is building to this. Yeah. And if you just go home and sit on your backside for the next week, you're not going to be ready. And guys who chose just to sit on the backside, they're the ones that paid for it. So it's just a matter of just getting them ready, cardiovascular, so they're ready for the football season. So it was fun though at times.
Yeah. Was it hard to manage the high school students? I know, like, I feel like maturity level is definitely.
No, actually, the high school level is actually, I mean, anything from freshman, or I should say sophomore on, it's easy.
Really?
The freshmen are the ones that are squirrely. They're all over the place
Makes
because
sense.
they're
They're
still
coming in.
They're coming in and they're just learning everything, and they've gone from junior high and not really understanding what the high school setting is, and they're still trying to find their place. So they're a little bit more squirrely than what we got from the sophomores on.
Yeah.
The sophomores on, especially with like my position group, it's easy because they have the fear of the size 14.
Did you have any
that
tough
one
kids?
is right? Evan, the size 14.
What size 14?
Size 14 up your. So
basically, if you screw up, I get my shoe up your backside. And I always tell them, hey, do you want me to start shining up the size 14?
Okay.
And that's what I never had to do it, so it's all good.
So there is some enjoyment, like messing with
there
the kids
is.
a little bit.
I like to mess with them a little bit, but it's not like it's detrimental to them.
I had it's fun though. I had a time where I was injured and I was coach for a little bit, like
an really?
assistant coach. Yeah,
Right on.
I found an excuse to go to practice and become a coach. I found some fun out of it.
Yeah, you can. There's some good parts to it.
Oh, it was the best, seeing everybody run and you can just stand there and watch.
Okay, buddy. Okay.
No, I mean, as a coach, I mean, the biggest reward is just seeing the guys go through and actually, like, I mean, case in point, like with Evan, with Trevor, with Cash. I mean, there's a group of guys that I've been, like I said, I've been at San Juan for 6+ years. I got there in 2018, so I've seen probably, I think it's 3 or 4 groups that have gone through from freshman to graduating.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun to see those guys mature, and the biggest reward as a coach is seeing what they do afterwards. You know, and seeing them develop and become the men they're going to be. You know, you see, like, case in point with Evan, you know, when I first met Evan, it's like, all right, he's all over the place. And then, like I said, in his junior year, he made that big flip. He was able to keep that aggression on one side. And now seeing what he's doing now with his life, it's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, as a coach, that is my biggest payback for what I do, is seeing him becoming him and being what he's doing, you know, and seeing Trevor going off to college and playing ball. I mean, I was only coaching Sean for about a year, but seeing him go play in the pros. You know, as a coach, that's my way of giving
rewarding.
back. And it's rewarding for me because I played as long as I did, and I'm not out there for the money. We don't get paid a lot. We don't get paid anything, really. You know, and it's my whole reward is just seeing what people take from the life lessons they're learning while playing that sport. And just sitting here talking with you guys. Listen to Evan sitting here and talk about the 5 guys up front, the family within the family. These are all the theories and the philosophies and everything that I instilled on him during the time that he was in the meeting room with me. It's like 5 up front. We're 5 guys like this, like your hands flat, 5 guys. But when we make a fist, that's 5 guys that are going to hurt. So it's always 5 up front.
Yeah.
And it's the family within the family. And to hear him saying this now, a year removed from anything with football, and still it's a part of his life.
Yeah, it carries
you know,
on.
that's the thing. And that's the biggest rewarding thing for me. And when I got the call from him, he's like, hey, do you want to come on? I'm like, heck yeah, I'll come down there. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to come down there and talk to you guys. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just seeing you guys and interacting. This is awesome. I mean, it's a great thing. And that's the most rewarding thing for me as a coach.
Yeah.
Is seeing this young man moving on to doing what he's doing and being proud of what he's doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Let's do. I want to do a.
He does make fun of me a lot.
No, I don't. I want to do. I want to do a top 5 for me and you. I want to go first, but I want do you think about your top 5 overall athletes that you've coached and like skill level of like talent?
Oh, geez. All right. Are we talking my whole career or just my career?
You can do from your playing career and then your coach career. But I'll go first. My top 5 is gonna be my top 5 rivals, like people who I've gone against the most in practice.
Let's see.
So, number 5 is honestly not really a rival, but Scott Quan.
No kidding. Actually,
because this
can I say a funny story real quick?
Kwani.
I swear I heard some story about Scott Quan where I think they said it was like a defensive move he did on the football field where he'd run and then start spinning. I don't know how true that is, but I heard some story through somebody, and I was like, "There's no way this kid's doing that."
Hey, he was strong. That's the thing. He was strong.
That's true, though.
Yes, it is very true.
But
that's what he did.
What is that? What would he do exactly?
He just spin and rama.
Basically, we called it the Quantarama because what he do is he played D-line.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to be an offensive lineman. But what he'd do on his pass rush, when he rush at the offensive lineman, is he'd run right to you, but he'd stop maybe like 2 feet from you and just start spinning to try to get away from you.
Oh, okay.
So there was actually no hand, so it was called the Quantarama because all he did was spin. He'd like run at you and then spin.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, where's he spinning to? There's no reason for it. But it was, that's
Yeah.
what,
That's
I mean,
hilarious.
I love that kid. He was a great kid. He was crazy in his head, but it was
Yeah.
interesting. That's a good memory. I remember that one. That's good.
But
That's
so,
good stuff.
Against Scott, I've played against him for 3 years. Every single time I beat him easily. Like it was like no debate, beat him. It's summer camp, junior year, and we're doing one-on-ones, and he beats me, and he's like laughing in my face, like, "Oh, I beat you!" And then guess what? He quits. The next day he quits.
Yeah.
So I never got to play him again, and he just beats me and just runs off, and he just always to this day he's like, "Oh, remember when I beat you junior year? Yeah."
That's
Because
smart.
He rubs it in my face.
He left at a high note.
So
That's
Smart.
he let. My number 4, which I think it could be higher, but he also quit after sophomore year, was Dylan Oakley.
Oh, yeah.
And so
The
one day
Oaks.
in camp, so we're doing one-on-ones, right? And everyone's watching. You know, I might pull up this video so I can show you, but everyone's watching.
You
You
still
know
got it.
what?
You still got the
Yeah,
video.
this is
But- Go for it. Explain it.
One-on-ones is like when you're just like pass rush, really, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm gonna find this video. So
While he's
I
doing
got
that,
it.
if you
So-
want, one-on-ones is where the offensive lineman basically does like a pass set when he's protecting the quarterback. And we have
Okay.
the defensive lineman is trying to make a move to get to where the quarterback would be standing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we call one-on-ones. It's one offensive lineman against one defensive lineman.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
It's a mano-a-mano kind
Type
of
of
thing.
situation,
So
yeah.
there's a lot of testosterone and a lot of competition going on.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And guys
be the
talking a
best.
little smack, who wants to be the best.
Yeah.
And then you got some coaches kind of egging it on, going, all right, Kwani, let's go against so-and-so or whoever it was. And I know with Oakley, it was one we always said to go against Evan just because
it was Miller time versus Oakley.
It was
bro.
Miller time because we had Evan Miller and everybody said, Miller time. You know, it's Miller time. Let's go. So it was Miller and Oakley going against each other.
Okay.
Sophomore year, middle of the season, I'm going to do 1-on-1 against Dylan Oakley. I'm like, hey, whatever. It's like an even battle. So everyone's there. All the Coach Sylvie's there, Coach Briggs, Coach Jacob's there, all watching, and I'm doing my usual step back, and I just get absolutely bull rushed, and I get like sent flying backwards, and I see when I'm watching the video back over, I see Coach Sylvie celebrating, Coach Briggs celebrating, everyone's just like clowning on me, like, ah! let me show you the video.
It was pretty bad. It's one of
Can you
those.
explain the video for them too, for people who aren't
It's
can't
just
see
me getting
just like
embarrassed.
absolutely okay?
Basically, Evan's kick stepping, setting back, and Dylan puts his hand right in the middle of his chest. And you see
Him just fly.
Evan basically go from his head being vertical to his head being horizontal to where he's landing on his backside, and that's
That sucks.
basically he got reverse pancaked.
I'm the one right here.
But
Oh my
And
god.
then like all the coaches are just celebrating, coming over. Like Sylvie's
Okay.
like squatting.
given
All the varsity guys like
So for those that can't see the video, Evan just got absolutely like pushed backwards. No, like
And
no
I'm just
resistance,
laying
no
there, too.
nothing. Just got pushed.
No, he
And
got
as he's on the
destroyed.
ground, he pushes him again.
he pushes on top
And
of
then
his chest.
everybody huddles around
That was-
Evan, just like, oh,
that was probably one of the most embarrassing ones. But every time after that, it was my mission like to beat Dylan Oakley.
oh yeah.
And I think further time gone on, I was getting like better and like I was the better one. But he eventually quit, so it was kind of sad that I didn't get to go against him more.
Mhm.
Another one was Jake Toppinser.
Yeah.
So
Jake Top.
he was another a small guy, but he had the best hands I've ever seen.
What do you mean?
Like
Oh, like
best hands. Like
Well, he also, you got to remember, Top he did wrestling, he did a little MMA stuff, so he's a lot of like hand fighting.
was
So
super quick.
he was real quick. I mean, he wasn't like huge.
Mhm.
I mean, you look at me, I'm a big guy, I'm 6'4",
Yeah.
280, whatever, as the offensive guy. And then you look at Top, he was maybe, I don't know, 5'9", maybe $175,
He was strong,
$185,
too.
but he was strong.
900 pounds.
yeah.
He was in the 900-pound club, but he was quick. So all of his movements, you had to be like 2 steps ahead of him to beat him on everything.
Mm.
So he had quick hands, so that was another thing that was a problem for Evan. So
And also
go
he
on
had
to your
this
story.
He had this what's like when you do a little
It's called a push-pull. Basically,
Push-pull.
he pushes
That's
the
smart,
guy
yeah.
back, grab the shirt, pull him forward.
sophomore
so he can
year.
move by him.
Every time we went against him, I couldn't do anything. Just whoop, whoop, and I fell
And you got
over.
caught by the same thing?
Yes, because I didn't know what to do. 'Cause I
Yes,
was
he
a
got
sophomore.
stuck.
You're supposed to lean
every
back.
single time.
I didn't know what to do. So yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. And
Yeah.
he unfortunately quit because Weston took his spot and he wasn't gonna play over Weston.
Well, I think he left because he wanted to focus on
And
his,
also, yeah.
his MMA and wrestling.
Yeah.
He really wanted to get into
Fair.
wrestling, and we just brought wrestling to San Juan Hills his junior/senior year. So he's like, I want to focus on that.
But yeah, he's
wait, what was his name again?
Weston Port. You know who Weston Port is. UCLA.
I probably
commit.
do.
So
yeah, you'd have to show me a picture.
Also, I mean, he's not really a rival. He's like the nicest. Like out of all like the guys who are going D1, he's the most humble person, nicest person ever. So when he was a freshman, and obviously when you're a freshman, you're not expecting him to be good. He started as a freshman. Every time I go get some practice, it was like
just couldn't do anything.
When I say there's no chance to guard him, there was no chance.
That sucks.
And I'm lucky he moved to like middle linebacker later on, but he was just a blitzer guy. And every practice I was always go against him, couldn't beat him once. Right. I'm gonna do like him and Jaworski at the same time because both of them are quick and nimble with their hands. Also very physical guys.
Yeah.
But my number one rival is obviously Dom Uribe.
Really?
Because I've gone against Dom probably over 100 times. I have this one clip of me, obviously when I was in sophomore year, always clipped like my good highlights on Huddle, and there's one where I embarrassed him, like I shoved him over, I stood over, I'm like, yeah. So always going against Dom. Dom's my brother, but that was like everyone was always me and Dom.
There was just a rivalry.
Yeah, because we've gone through all 4 years, always go against each other. We always had each other's numbers. I was quick. I was a quick offense lineman. He was a quick defense lineman, so it was good like battle because we're both really quick. And I'm really good with my feet and just moving around. So that's my number one rival. But who's your top 5? Do you want to do playing career or coach career first?
Either one. It doesn't matter.
Let's do playing career.
Yeah. Playing career when I played. So you want to talk from my high school days? You want to talk from
any high school, college? Just
let's say high school. I think my biggest rivalry was against a guy. His name Matt Kinley. Played for was at Mission Viejo. I went to Laguna Hills, which at the time Laguna Hills wasn't really powerhouse football, and we were the first CIF champions when I was there in 1990. Here I'm going to date myself, 1991. I'm
just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. You guys weren't even a thought. But no, he was a USC recruit, was going to be going to USC on a full ride scholarship. I didn't have any kind of scholarship offers, and I was playing offensive tackle, and he had I can't remember the amount of sacks he had, but he was a lifelong friend of mine as well growing up. Like we went to junior high together, but because back in the day, your high schools were based on where you lived, and it's kind of the same now. But my street where I grew up divided between going to Mission Viejo on one side, Laguna Hills on the other. So my side had to go to Laguna Hills. Well, this guy that I knew all basically through like elementary school, junior high, real good friend of mine, went to Mission Viejo, got all these accolades, was this huge guy going to USC.
Yeah.
Had a bunch of sacks going into the game, and they're like, oh, we're going against a no-star against like a 4-star.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, he's going to have a night. And I'm like, no, it's a rivalry. I'm going to kick his backside. It's done. So he had no sacks that game, so that was one of my biggest in high school. College-wise, I think I was a walk-on at Fresno. I think anybody who had a scholarship was kind of my rivalry because I wanted a scholarship, but I didn't get one. So after that, I left and went to Northern Colorado. I think the biggest rivalry I had was against, I can't remember his name. He was a nose tackle for South Dakota State. He ticked me off in a game so bad that I got mad, and I basically ripped his face mask off his helmet when I hit him.
What?
Yeah, the face masks are all hooked on the helmet, and I had a little bit of aggression back in the day where I was a little bit more than I should have. I was a center, snapped the ball, and I went and grabbed him, and he had taken a low shot on a play earlier, and I was a little pissed about it, so I basically grabbed his mask, twisted it, and ripped his face mask off and threw it back in his huddle, and I said, I'll see you in a minute. Or actually, I won't because you got to go get your helmet fixed. And I didn't get a flag or anything, but it was just that's a rivalry. So there was a couple of years in college I had to keep going against him. So it was every year we saw each other.
Yeah.
See, after that, I really didn't have any more rivalries after that, playing days.
How about
But coaching wise, you want to talk about rivalries coaching wise.
You ever had a rivalry with a student?
With a student? No, I've never had an issue with a student. Students are all been kind of cool to me because as long as I treat them with respect, I get the respect back. So I'm not too worried about that.
That's good.
Yeah. I think it was only 3 of my rivalries, really. Another one was, I guess, when I got cut from the NFL. I was with them for 2 weeks, and then I got cut. That was a rivalry.
You were in the NFL, though?
I was invited. I was just an invite to go for the Denver Broncos back in the day, and I was there for 2 weeks because I went to Northern Colorado. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. 2 weeks was awesome, but I guess my rivalry would be the fact that I didn't make it past that.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's all good. I think my top rivalry, I guess, would be I don't know. I don't really have a top rivalry.
How about
coaching wise, or what? Me seeing you guys wise, or my top 5, like what player wise, or what?
Like who's your top 5 either favorite players, like most talented players you've seen?
Top
Evan's
5.
Not on top 5.
No,
I'm just kidding.
no, I wouldn't say it's not top 5. I'm going to say my top 5. I mean,
Yeah.
if I was to look at one, I got to say Sean Ryan, because the guy's playing at the professional level. He'd be like
Fair.
the top because he's got that athleticism. He was just naturally there.
Mhm.
In the 15 years that I've been coaching, in Orange County football, it'd be tough for me to sit here and go, here's my top 5. But I mean, if my favorite guys, I mean, I'd have a list that would be all day long.
Mhm.
But I mean, to really look at it, I mean, Evan is definitely in the top group that I liked because he had the mentality of an offensive lineman, and he really gravitated to the position. Trevor Newkirk's another one. Ryan McDougall. I mean, every kid that I've ever coached really has been a positive person, that I wanted to have in my life. Otherwise, I wouldn't have coached them. And it was one of the things I told these guys from the beginning. I would say, if I don't talk to you, it means I don't like you.
Mhm.
But if I talk to you, I knew you're coachable.
Yeah.
And there's guys that I hang out with and I talk with. There's guys that I've had in my coaching career that, when I was at El Toro for a little bit, I had a couple kids. One of them, he would drive me nuts in meetings, but he actually turned out to be a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a good kid. I love him. Still talk to him to this day. I mean, I really can't sit here and go, my top guys would be this,
Yeah.
because really as a coach, I think everybody's awesome. Because they've all had a part of my life and they've all been a part of my heart that I have 2 girls of my own, so I never got boys. So as a coach, I've got over 100 and something boys that I've coached over the years that have turned into men. And my whole thing is, what's my top? Seeing what they do later. I mean, I kind of said it earlier when I was talking about Evan, seeing them go on to their top, but
one of his things he told me was like, when you made it as a coach is when they invite you to your wedding or to their wedding.
Right.
Because that's when you left like an impact. So they're thinking about you.
That's the biggest impact. I mean, and then I ran across somebody a couple weeks back and they're talking, how you feeling? I was like, had some health scares during the summer. Like, oh, your funeral is going to be full. I go, dude, I don't want to talk about that just because all the people I've been around. Doesn't matter. My whole thing is I want to be here and enjoy life.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about that. Let's not go there. That kind of thing. It's kind of a morbid way of looking at it. But, no, I mean, top 5, I would say, like I said, Sean, you, Trevor, McDougall, there's Jake Hudson was another one.
Oh, yeah.
Justin Collins was another guy that played his heart out. I mean, there's guys that when you looked at them, they were never offensive linemen, but they were awesome because they gave everything. I had a kid that was 5'8", 195 pounds that I coached at El Toro. His name's DJ Moore, and he played center for me.
Yeah.
But the guy was a linebacker, but he was never a lineman, but he became like a second or third team offensive lineman for the league, would dominate. We had Chris Grosso was another kid I've coached at El Toro, was an awesome kid. Kyle White. I mean, I've got over 15 years, there's all sorts of different guys I can name that are just awesome players. I mean, the Newkirk family alone, I coached all 3 brothers. There was Sean Newkirk, Nathan Newkirk, Trevor Newkirk was the baby of the group. All 3 of those guys.
That guy's the baby.
Yeah, he's the baby. If you look at him, he's the baby, but he's I say baby,
massive,
but he's the massive baby. Great family. Again, it's all about, it's not really, I can't really say top 5 guys that I'd say athletically. I'd say more of top 5 that I'd say relationship-wise. There goes those guys that I've really grown to know and gotten to know them beyond just being a player and on a personal level. And it goes back to just like we were talking. Am I going to be invited to a wedding? Or like I got a call from a kid I coached back in 2008. He called me, hey, coach, I just had my first kid.
Oh, wow.
Dude, awesome. Stoked, man. How's everything going? Yeah, it's great. And, just hearing their story after. One case in point is like the first time I walked back on the campus there at San Juan, I'm walking across campus and all of a sudden I hear this coach. I turn around, it was a teacher who's yelling at me.
Oh.
Mr. Camacho, who's a teacher on campus. I coached him in high school. So it's like a complete, the whole world's changing around. Here I was coaching him when he was in high school, and now I'm walking onto campus in 2018, and here he is as a teacher doing his thing.
Yeah.
And giving back. And he's like, the reason why I'm here is you did this. You were so positive and everything. And that I'm like, awesome. I'm glad to see you're teaching.
Yeah.
I'm still coaching. So, no, but that's
they're
get
like
down
your
to it.
kids.
Yeah, yeah, more or less.
Can I do a quick rundown of my top 5 talented people from just me seeing?
Yeah,
man.
let's go for it.
So, my number 5, I guess I only played with him for 1 year, but Timmy is probably my top 5.
Because
his running ability, he can sling it like as far as I ever seen someone throw a football.
Yeah.
Number 4, I'm just gonna put Trevor, because once Trevor got like his aggression, you couldn't do anything if you're up against him.
Right. He had to grow out of that. Yeah.
Number 3 is a tie between Weston Port and then Jason Robinson. Weston's probably the best defense player I've ever seen going against, and also just like a really great human, really great guy. And then Jason Robinson, only had him for like 1 season, but best route runner ever. It was always open.
Yeah.
Number 2 is his brother, Jaden Robinson, who only played like a small amount of games for us. He's the shiftiest guy I've ever seen in my life. You can't tackle him. I wish he played for us the rest of the season, but he was so talented. And my number 1, which he's in college football right now, but my number 1 guy is Butter, actually.
Right.
Butter, I've never seen a quarterback. He was on the JV team for like the first couple of games, which was the most fun ever because no one could tackle him. He was running all over people. He was throwing all over people. He's also matured way more now than he was as a freshman because he was like, "Oh, I'm the best one here. But
so he's pretty cocky.
Yes, but he's hands down the most talented person I've ever seen in my life, and I hope only the success for him wherever he goes. So yeah,
he's going to ASU now?
Yeah, he's at ASU right now.
At ASU.
So. I do have something funny that I about Timmy. That kid, the first time I ever saw him, I heard people talked about him, of course, because he was like apparently like the freshman, and he's like an insanely good quarterback. First time I saw him was he was playing the dodgeball thing. So at San Juan Hills, you have
the dodgeball competition.
You have the dodgeball competition. He was playing, so like people are telling me like, oh, he's the freshman quarterback, he's amazing, whatever. First ball he launches, it goes straight into the roof. That's my first impression. Like, definitely, I believe it. Best quarterback I've seen so far. He launched it fair. It just went the wrong direction.
He was launched.
Yeah, that's Timmy. Your reference was the tattoo right away.
Yeah, because
what about it?
He's super young, but he already has like a full tattoo right here. So whenever I go against someone with a tattoo, I'm always like, okay, we're like 15 years old. How do you already have a tattoo already? Yeah. Like, I've gone in JV games as a sophomore and seen we're against Capo. 5 of their kids were all tatted up. I'm like, there's no way, right?
Yeah. But I mean, some of their parents just let them. Some parents are fine with it.
It's all about
as long as they make a good choice with their tattoo.
Yeah.
How many tattoos do you have?
I have 3 right now.
Do you regret any of them?
Nope. No. Not a single one. Every one of them I chose for a reason. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing. When I got mine, the first time, a bunch of my friends were like, don't get it, because you're going to hate it when you're older. I'm like, why? If it's something I want, then it's going to be something I'm going to have. But it's all personal choice. I mean, I wouldn't go out and just get whatever you see on the wall in a shop, because in 5 years you're going to hate it because it's all going to droop, or if you get older, your skin starts to sag or whatever, and it's just not going to look right. And covering it up or having it removed is worse than the first time you do it.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure it's something you like. I mean, the ones I have, 2 of them were drawn by a really good friend of mine, and I liked them, so I put them on my body. So
yeah, it's important to have meaning behind it. I think it's
there's a connection to everything. I mean, there's like, you see guys like famous people, you see like The Rock, he's got all his, and it's because one to his heritage. Culture, everything has to do with him. So it's about his culture. It's about his upbringing. For me, it's got to be something that's symbolic to you. There's people that have like a tattoo of their kids, their footprints or whatever, or their name written, or like if somebody passes, you have them, something that they signed, you have that tattooed on you. That makes you have them immortalized with you forever. Yeah. So it's got to mean something. That's the whole thing. I think it gets back to what you're saying, Evan. I'm not just going to get something that's just because. It's got to mean something. So that's where I'm at with that. But when you look at it like high schoolers, you see them with the tattoo, it's like, all right, are you really a high schooler, or are you?
You snuck in here.
You sneak in here somehow. Yeah. So, but no, Timmy's a good player.
He's a good kid too. Yeah. Really good kid.
I mean, just in the group you talked about in that top 5, I mean, they're all good kids. I mean, every single one of them. I mean, you talk about the Robinsons; they were both good. Jaden, Jason were good kids. Timmy great kid. He's still got a great potential in front of him. He's got another year coming back. Another one would be Elijah Ayea.
Yeah.
great running back. I mean, if you look down at Weston Port, I mean, that kid on the football field, you don't mess with him, but off the football field, the nicest guy. Yeah. You look around, it's like, all right, that's the kind of guy I want my daughters to be dating. That's the kind of guy I want around, positive. Everything about him was just like a positive aura. And he's a great kid, and he's going to have nothing but success coming up in front of him because of who he is. Yeah. And we were all very lucky to have a little bit of time when he was with us, and he actually spent all 4 years at San Juan Hills, which was awesome. It was great to see him come in as a freshman, and now we're seeing him leave as a senior. And unfortunately, we didn't win a championship with him, but he's going to have great success ahead of him. He's going to UCLA in a couple of years, and he's going on his mission first, and then he's going to UCLA. But bright future ahead of that kid. He's probably going to be another San Juan product that makes it
in the NFL or something like that.
Oh yeah. Definitely. He's definitely got the it, as they call it. So
I'll keep my eye out for him.
Yeah, keep an eye out. He's gonna be one.
I don't watch football, but I'll keep my eye out somewhere.
You'll hear it somewhere. I'm sure Evan will share it with you at some point.
Yeah.
Probably. But
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Would you say you've been coaching for how long now?
In Orange County, I've been around since 2008 when I started at Segerstrom High School.
Okay. Segerstrom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun school. We beat them pretty bad in the cross.
Well, yeah, Segerstrom's good. It was a good school. It's good fun.
But so you've been doing it for a while. Do you feel like any of this coaching experience, being around the kids, different age groups, all that, has that translated into parenting for you? Do you feel like?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, there's some things that I can utilize with my interactions with some of the kids at the high school, and be able to use it with my kids alone. Talking with them, and I think the biggest thing that I've learned is to always treat, no matter who it is, kids with respect. You know what I mean? As adults, we all do it automatically. You just do it. As adults, you always show respect. But it's kind of a lost art to respect kids, regardless of what they're going through, whatever's going on, whatever's happening, based on, their lives outside of whatever. They're people. Yeah. Treat them like that. And guess what? They're going to respect you right back. And that's one thing I've learned in the time, even just at San Juan Hills when I was a campus supervisor. You hear, oh, this group of kids, they're horrible. Really? I haven't had any issues with them. Why? Because I talk to them like they're human. Yeah. And if you treat everybody that way, it translates. And it's the same thing for me, for my kids, because when I look at it, they do something wrong. I'm mad. I'm pissed. I want to ground them. Whatever. And the first thing I'm thinking is, whoa, they're human. Let's talk about this first, and then we'll go from there. Yeah. And figure it out. And that's one big thing I've taken away from coaching is you learned about relationships are more important than the actual consequences. You know what I mean by that? It's kind of a roundabout way. So
it's good to explain it to them too.
Yeah.
Get them to understand what's going wrong instead of just lashing out and just they're confused afterwards. What just happened?
Correct. And it's like, what did I get that for?
Yeah.
Where's the A to the B to the C to get me there? Why did I run 5 laps? Yeah. Or just go run. You messed up. You remember that with a certain coach that used to do that all the time.
Ooh, who? Somebody.
Do you know? Wasn't it Coach Crow that used to make you guys just run?
Before every JV game, it was even if we didn't do anything we're running before the game, we just always run 20 back.
Yep.
But we didn't win a lot, so I guess he just kept doing it because we were winning. But for no reason sometimes. But some of it was deserved, some of it was for no reason. Yeah, and I want to ask you if you knew what a sled was.
Isn't the stuff you can put the weight on it and you just push it?
Well, there's a couple different versions of a sled. There's the ground sled like you guys probably used of just any kind of running training for. I mean, lacrosse might have used that, might not have.
Parachute.
There's the parachute training there too, but the sled, as Evan's referring to, I think I know where he's going with this. It's a 5-man big sled that we have out there. It's got 5 bags across the front of it.
You've seen that.
I think I've seen it. Yeah.
And for offensive line practice, I get to stand on it like I'm the king riding on a throne or whatever, and I make them blow the whistle and they have to push it. So you got 5 guys pushing it and driving it, and it's not light. It's almost.
It's heavy, without anyone sitting on it. It's not. But then adding people standing on it.
Yeah. It made it worse. So we'd have 5-minute periods where I just called it Sled Tuesday, and we'd go out there and push the sled for 5 minutes. So it was like a repetition over and over and over and over again. But what it did was build their leg drive. But they always knew on Tuesdays was sled days, and nobody wanted to be at practice on Tuesdays. I think that's what you're referring to, isn't it? All right. I just want to make sure.
No, I've never seen that. I've seen that sled before at San Juan.
Yeah, it's off to the side. Yeah, it's a lineman device that we push, and
I messed with it when I was in PE. That thing didn't move. I thought it was supposed to be like that, though.
No, it moves. It moves when you get all 5 pushing it. It can move pretty well. Evan didn't like it his sophomore year.
No?
Oh, bro. Like, when it's your first time doing it, we also do a thing where you, like, run up to it and, like, push it up.
Oh, your linebacker gap drill.
And I couldn't. It's kind of like fun to see like the progression from sophomore to senior, actually like moving it up. But sophomore year, he would tell me this all the times, like, oh, it's okay if you don't move it. But I'd get it. I'd move up. It just wouldn't move. I'd be like, oh. And then I go back, do it again, and just went.
Oh, you just have to keep going until it moves.
Well, it's not so much that. It's each bag is on a spring to where if you hit it right, it'll pop up. Mm-hmm. But when you're younger and you don't know exactly what you're doing with your hip thrust and moving through, it's not going to move.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the younger lineman will hit it and usually the bag hits them back because the spring pushes back into them and they're not ready for it. So I'd always tell them, all right, your first couple times, you're ready, it's going to pop back at you.
Yeah.
Well, and what Evan's saying is he gets mad and he's like, I want to make it move. It's not moving. And it gets popped back in your face.
Okay.
So it could be some fun.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you two have, I assume you have pretty deep football knowledge, of course, you as well. I don't really watch football, but I was curious. What is your guys' like predictions with the Super Bowl coming up?
Predictions?
Yeah, you have like a prediction of maybe who's going to win, who's going to make it.
I would love to see Philadelphia win it, but it's also going to be kind of tough to beat Kansas City when they've won it 2 years in a row. So I mean, the Chiefs are pretty good. I don't know. What do you think about that, Evan?
I want to see a 3-peat because that's never happened before in our NFL history.
Right.
But like again, to me, this is one of the years like if whoever wins, I'll be cool with. But I want to see a 3-peat really bad because Lamar didn't make it, Lamar Jackson, and that's my favorite player right now. So
yeah,
I want to see some history. I want to see the Chiefs win it. Are you gonna watch it? Probably not.
Probably will. Yeah.
You're watching a halftime show for sure.
It depends. See, Super Bowl is fun to watch. I watched it once only. Right. I don't even remember which year I watched it, but there's so I didn't really like know the sport obviously because like my family's not a huge sport family and we just tried it one year just because of like it's obviously the Super Bowl.
Right.
And there's so much energy around it. It's so fun. Like I don't know anything about football, but like to bet on a team and then someone like your family's been on the other one. It's like you actually it feels like
makes
you're
it a little bit of
like
competition.
Kind of. That's fun. Like you're invested in it.
Yeah.
But
the best part about Super Bowl is even if you're not a fan of the sport itself, just watching all the commercials. That's what a lot of people go just to watch the commercials, just because they want to see what Doritos is going to come out with, what Bud Light's going to come out, all the different commercials, what they're going to do, because that's the prime time of people watching TV.
Yeah.
So they want to see what's going on, and then we got all the side bets of who, who's gonna, what color is Gatorade going to be when the winner gets dumped on them. Yeah. So it's a big cult classic. Fun. Everybody likes to watch it. So
yeah. And halftime show. I mean, people are looking forward.
Who is the halftime show this year?
Kendrick Lamar.
You're not going to watch that?
It's Kendrick Lamar and SZA.
SZA, yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be hype. Do you know about like the whole Kendrick Lamar stuff?
No, I don't know all that stuff. I'm kind of out of that.
Yeah. For us, it's like him, another rapper had a beef. Like they were trying to see who's the best rapper. And
right.
Kendrick Lamar made a hit song that he made against Drake, and then that became the whole thing. And the Super Bowl obviously made their decision. Like, it's perfect to pull him on.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
Cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Beyond the game, I'll watch that.
How would you compare like the hype around the Super Bowl this time around compared to other previous years? Pretty good hype. Chiefs, Eagles.
It's pretty good hype. I mean, the big thing is just to see what's going to happen with the three-peat, like Evan kind of alluded to. It's the first time in NFL history seeing somebody go 3 times in a row, back to back to back. The Patriots tried to. They went back to back, then they lost one, then they went back to the Super Bowl. But this will be the first time that it's a three-peat. So, I mean, that's pretty big hype. They want to see Patrick Mahomes do well. They want to see Travis Kelce do well. But a lot of people are also saying they want to see the Eagles win.
Yeah.
Because they want to see Saquon Barkley do something after he left the Giants. He was with the Giants for the longest time, and they didn't do anything. He goes to the Eagles, and now they're in the Super Bowl. And he's a phenomenal running back, and he's got a chance to go get one. So it's the hype is going to be who's going to be it, who's going to win it. You got a lot of Philadelphia fans like, oh, this is our year, this is our year, this is our year. And you got KC fans that are like, oh no, it's our destiny. We're going to be three-peaters. That's it, no more. So it's good. It's a good hype. It's good. It's going to draw people into it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It all comes down to any given Sunday.
I have a question for you. So
okay,
me and Aidan's sweatshirt says homegrown, right? Homegrown.
Do
you remember was my senior year when Tesoro was saying like, oh, they're homegrown because they didn't like have any players transfer in. Does the word homegrown mean anything for you as like a person that like sets the culture of a team by being like the coach, or like setting like?
What do you mean by setting the culture?
Like,
that's a fun one.
What I mean setting culture, like setting like, I guess, like the way. I don't know what's good. Do you know a good way to explain? Like saying.
I'm trying to figure out what you're saying. I'm getting there. I feel like I'm
like,
close.
I'm trying to say like homegrown, like a way where you're like a person
setting the tone, like a standard of like expectations. You mean?
Yeah, like
when
RFTB, like
I guess a culture that is you, like you surrounded around your ideals, right?
Right.
Beliefs, stuff like that. It's like
homegrown meaning that I mean, if a kid comes in as a transfer, I mean, I don't know if I might be going off on a tangent from what we're talking about. If a transfer comes in, it's always great to have a transfer, as long as they buy into the culture that's already been established at the school. You know, within the program, we have the culture that we have the RFTB, run for the or ride for the brand, which is a big thing about that. If you come in and you have your own personal agenda, it kind of takes away from that. And a team is really built on whatever culture you can have, being a positive, being negative, being whatever it is. Your success is going to be based on that. And when a lot of people use the term homegrown, means it's a lot of kids that are from the community. Or from with that same family, or those guys that have battled for 4 years in the same program. Case in point, like you, Trevor, Cash, all were in the program for 4 years, so that's considered homegrown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're talking about, or am I completely off on a different coach tangent, as they say?
My whole, like, from freshman, sophomore, junior year, always looking up to the seniors, they're the most close bonded people the whole time, because they've always been there the whole time.
Right.
But when it was our senior year, that was the most divided I've seen a locker room be.
How so?
Because we had.
Well, that was that. Because I don't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
It was to a point where we actually had to have like a meeting. Coach actually had to give a meeting about like what are like a whole team, which we never had a meeting about problems like that, because different people had agendas. Different people were putting themselves first instead of having the team first. Does that make sense?
Got it. Yeah.
So that's why, and Tesoro was saying, because like, oh, you guys have so many transfers, but all of our players are homegrown. They've all been here. We have no like new people. So that's where I was heading to.
Well, it's funny when I get what you're saying, and yes, that was a tough season because we did have a few transfers that came in, and they came in later. You know, if you look at it. You look at like when Timmy came in. Timmy and Elijah were both transfers, and they came in at the semester break, which was the fall. Yeah. So they were part of the program to where we built into it. We good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right.
Yeah. I have no clue what the ear is, to be honest with you. We're still figuring our life out.
I was going to say, you're pushing buttons. I'm wondering, am I not recording? So like this whole, I'm just kidding. I'm messing with you. But no, back to it. What it was is saying like the homegrown, you have those guys that transfers it's a part of world. You know, it's part of high school sports. It's part of college sports with the transfer portal. It's always going to be there, but it's a matter of when you come in and if you buy into the system. We had guys that came in at the semester break, which would be like January, that were all part of the off season, so they grew as part of the family. You have some other groups that came in maybe later, and like you said, they had some of their own agendas, so it made it tougher. You know, they didn't buy into the same stuff of what you guys, the grime, the grit, the sweat, the toil that you guys have all been through for so long, and suddenly there was a different agenda put in front. So that's where that came from. And Tesoro, it's kind of funny to hear that they were the ones saying that, because they had numbers of transfers come through their school. Yeah. It's not like every single student that was at their school for 4 years. They've had numbers of transfers. Everybody has transfers. It's not like it happens.
Yeah, it's all part of the game.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of the culture you build, even with those transfers, and when they come in, and the culture that was already established, and watching it carry over. That's what's going to be the positive thing. Just like we had this past year, we had a very strong culture built within the group, and they fought for each other every week. You know, it was never a chance where we thought, oh, we're out of this game right away. You know, the one game that we lost early against Higley, they were the 2-time defending champ of Arizona, and we went down to the wire. It was 25-20 at the end, you know, which was huge. You know, and then we go against in the playoffs. It was the next loss was in the semis against a private school. Yeah, Oaks Christian, they had a defensive end that just was destroyed people. I mean, he's got like 7 D1 offers, and I mean, it was like we battled the whole way through, and we had a chance up till the end. It just didn't go our way that night. Mm-hmm. But the bond and the unity of those guys and that team was special because it was 4 years of those seniors being there. It's 4 years of those guys fighting together. So it goes right to your point of being homegrown, you know. And it's just like the group that's coming behind them. It's another homegrown group coming through. So it's that culture's been established. Transfers or not, the transfers are always going to be there, but it's whether or not they buy in to what's already there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
does
that kind of answer your question, or did I just go all over the place?
No, that was good.
Perfect. I have a question I've always been thinking about my whole life.
Oh, man.
Your whole life?
Your whole life?
Well, my last, 5 years.
But 5 years since you've known me.
Yeah. If I wasn't an offensive lineman, what other position do you think I'd be good at?
For you?
Yeah.
Honestly, if I was just to say knee-jerk reaction, I'd say D lineman, a D end, because you had the quicks off the edge and you had long arms and you were able to play the game. I mean, that was one of the things that like drew me to saying I need him on the offensive line is because you had quick feet, you had a longer wingspan with your hands, so you're able to play the game. And as being an offensive tackle, you can't have short, stubby like T-Rex arms. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to have good arms as a tackle. You got a long distance because it's you and then space. To either side. Inside, you got a guard help. So, you know, and that's where I think if you were to play, it'd be D end if you were to play on a defensive side.
All right, thank you.
Definitely not a freaking kick returner, I'll tell you that. But that's just I'm messing with you.
I remember you telling me, you told us many stories, but one of the stories that sticks to me is you telling us that you were supposed to be like taller.
I actually was. I was actually supposed to be about 6'6", 6'7" was
like Trevor.
My overall height was supposed to be, but because I didn't play football until I got into high school, but because back in the day when I played, I led with my head. And I now have a lump in the back of my neck where I have 2-3 vertebrae that are actually naturally fused from all the impact of hitting. Yeah. So that's where I lost my overall height. I didn't grow because I kept smacking as a freshman.
Sounds brutal.
But back in the day, when I say back in the day, but it's in the 90s, our equipment was nothing compared to what it is now.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, like we look around your studio here, the little padding that they have for the sound insulation was about what we had wrapped around our head inside the helmets.
Yeah.
So it's nothing compared to the air pockets that are now around today's helmets to protect the head. And our, I guess you would say your war paint back in the day was how many scars, as I'm pointing at my head, how many nuggets or whatever you took out of your helmet.
Yeah.
You know, by headbutting or hitting people with the front of your helmet, or how messed up your face mask was. That was your badge of honor.
Yeah.
For the longest time until now, it's like guys are looking at, okay, if you're going to play offensive line, you got to have the cleanest helmet because that means you got your head back, you're using your hands, doing everything. Mm-hmm. Well, when I played, it was all headbutting and beating each other up, doing it that way. So that leads to what we talked about earlier with the CTE and everything else out from back then. But that would be, you know, what I would say about it. Mm-hmm. That was.
All right, welcome back to our spotlight for this week. Aidan, who are you spotlighting for?
I'm spotlighting Kodoku, his song Down to Ride. I recently came across him. He's a pretty good artist, I would say. He's kind of well known, kind of not. He just has some videos that are kind of big with 800,000 views, 600,000 views, but really good artist personally. He doesn't have a lot of music out there, but the music he does have released is really good. I would give it a listen.
Do you have a comparison to him?
No.
I was going to say, what's a comparison that I might understand?
Comparison, let me think. It's more of like it's kind of R&B a little bit, but kind of rap mixed into it. So it makes it like R&B and rap.
Right.
Yeah.
That perked my interest.
All right, so my album that I'm spotlighting is Blinded by Death by Hot Boy. Do you know Hot Boy?
Yeah, I know Hot Boy.
Do you know Hot Boy?
No clue.
This guy don't look familiar to you?
It actually does look familiar.
Well, so Hot Boy, album in 2022. What actually sucks is that Hot Boy was in jail for like a year, so he wasn't able to release new music. So this is his most recent album, and my favorite songs are "What the Fuck," which is such a banger. "First Class," "Live Life, Die Faster," and "Rich How I'm Dying," which also interpolates March Madness by Future.
Interpolates.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That means like it has like the same like beat that March Madness does, which is by Future. I'll play in the car for you to show you. Okay. and also Spiderweb. But yeah, overall, I give this an 8.5 out of 10. Listen to Blind by Death by Hot Boys. So yeah. Any spotlight for you?
I'm good.
All right, back to the program. I didn't know Coach Jacobs has been a coach for a while, but he's actually gone into teaching recently.
Yes, I have.
What made you want to become a teacher?
What made me want to become a teacher is because I finally decided that I didn't want to just clean toilets for the rest of my life. And no, actually, I mean, I had the aspirations of being a teacher since I was in high school. I mean, I had a teacher when I was at Laguna Hills. His name was Ronnie Smith, was my history teacher, and just made a difference in my life. You know, it made me actually enjoy going to school. You know, at times you get, especially as a senior, once you get to be your senior, it's like, all right, dude, can I just get out of here?
Yeah,
I don't want to be here anymore. I've already spent 3 years. I've been here. I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit coming in here, Aid. You go 3 years and you're like, all right, same thing over and over and over. Your senior year, like, I just want to get out of here. You know, and I was done playing football, and I was just like, I don't even want to come to school anymore. I just want to go on to college.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to get on with it. And this teacher is just the things he brought to my mind and it, like, opened my mind to think about it. And, you know, you talk about history. History is very bland because it's already done. And you're just learning about, you're just learning about dates. But he made it fun. He made it engaging. He made it to where I was putting some of the stuff we're learning historically to what was going on in my life. You know, so it's like, I always wanted to be a teacher. So I went off to college, and then life got in the way, and I never finished my degree. And I finally, a couple of years ago, I just said, you know what, I should just go finish my degree. Yeah. So I finished my degree, did the whole online thing, came back, and I'm like, well, I've already done that part. Why not just go get my credential? Because I think I'd be all right in a classroom. Went and got the credential, and I said, all right, let's just throw the master's on it. Why not? Let's just get it all done in a year and a half, and we're done. So that was my drive. And my whole thing was I want to get into the classroom because I think that I have the interaction and the relationship with kids just through coaching. And if I was to bring it to the classroom, and just in the time I've done as a sub, I see a difference. You see that light kind of kick on because you have a different perspective. Yeah. You know, I'm not like, all right, in 1941, Pearl Harbor was bombed. It's you got to bring it to them and talk to them. And actually, again, it goes back to like what I said earlier, treating kids like they're people. Have a relationship, give them respect. And when you teach, you got to have that same respect and have that same kind of energy. Otherwise, it's going to be like, why am I here? I just want to go home. Is it almost lunch? Is the bell going to ring? Can I get the heck out of it? You know, that kind of thing. So, yeah, that was my last life change. I decided to do that. And now I'm just trying to find that job.
Yeah. And you always wanted to teach in high school?
I did. For some reason, I felt that high schoolers were the level I'd want to be. Because if I go to elementary school, I think I'd scare the crud out of every kid possible because there's this Jolly Green Giant walking in there. In high school, I just think there's a maturity level. Especially, like I said earlier, freshmen are one group. You get your sophomores, still a little squirrely, but they're good. But you get the juniors and seniors, that's more of a mature group, and you can have more of an impact on their lives. As freshmen, you're kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. You know, you don't really have a direction. By the time you're a sophomore, you're kind of leaning down which road you're going to go. By the time you're a junior, you're kind of like, all right, here's my end game. By the time you're a senior, you're like, all right, there's my end game. How do I get out of here? You know what I mean? So it's like, what's going to help you with those steps to get through it? You know, so that's just been my draw. So I like that. I think I have a positive influence somewhere, maybe. Yeah. We'll see. I think I did all right with this guy.
All right, well, I appreciate you coming on. I thought this was a great episode.
Appreciate it.
Coach Jacob, guys. If you want to check us out, we do have our social media linked in the bio. All our stuff is there. I have my Instagram, TikTok. Coach Jacobs, do you have an Instagram?
I do.
Coach Jacobs?
It's just Coach Jacobs?
Coach Jacobs. We'll put it in the link, too. I'll find it.
Yeah, he's got it.
Yeah.
And all my stuff's in the link. Thank you for watching. Thanks for all the support. And we'll see you guys next time. So, peace.
Peace.
I set trends, you follow.